ChatGerry Miscellaneous Thoughts About Research Tools, number 1529, the 9th of February 2026, Gerald C. EclaireMD Foundation, category, Research Tools. Preface. Over the years, I have written 1,529 research papers. More than 1,200 of them are medical research papers, while the rest span economics, business, marketing, psychology, history, social science, behavioral science, and even areas like music theory and zoology. Despite this wide range of subjects, all of my work shares the same foundation. Every paper is built on mathematics and physics-based research tools. The core framework I use is Viscoplastopology (VPT), which I have applied in more than 1,000 papers. VPT integrates three essential ideas: viscosity, which represents time dependency; plasticity, which represents permanent damage; and topology, which represents structural relationships inside a system. In this article, I am not introducing a new model. I am simply organizing my thoughts about data integrity, the dominance of statistics in economics and medicine, and why my research approach sits outside many existing research systems. What follows is scientific, not political. Introduction. This writing reflects on a set of related questions: why some national data cannot be used for serious scientific research, why this problem mirrors deeper issues in economics and medicine, why statistics dominates modern research and why it often fails at the edges, why prestige systems rarely recognize engineering work focused on failure, collapse, and prevention, and why my own VPT work does not fit comfortably inside conventional medical research frameworks. This article is intentionally long. Truth requires structure. Compression often hides causality. Why I dropped the China economic study. Recently, I asked myself a simple scientific question: can I apply my VPT method to study China's economy using publicly available data? After careful consideration, I decided that I cannot. This decision has nothing to do with politics. It has everything to do with scientific standards. Serious quantitative research requires data that are reasonably accurate, consistently defined, and transparent over time. China's macroeconomic data fail these requirements. Definitions change. Some key indicators are revised, redefined, or discontinued when results become unfavorable. Headline GDP growth often appears to track present targets rather than real economic behavior. At the same time, many observable stress signals point in the opposite direction. Residential real estate prices have collapsed. Local government financing vehicles are under severe strain. Household consumption is weak. Youth unemployment is extremely high. Capital is flowing out. Foreign direct investment is declining. When so many stress indicators deteriorate while reported GDP growth rate remains smooth and positive, -1 at 5%, cause and effect no longer align. In engineering or physics, this would immediately raise a red flag. We would conclude that the sensor is unreliable. We would not build models on signals that no longer reflect physical reality. Under these conditions, applying VPT on China economics would not be science. It would be mathematics layered on unstable or non-recated inputs. I therefore dropped the China study and chose to focus on systems such as the US, Japan, or the UK, where data may still be imperfect but remain transparent and internally consistent. Honest data, even when weak, are still usable. Managed or dishonest data are not. This realization led me to a broader conclusion. The same structural problem exists in modern economics and modern medicine. Why statistics dominates and fails. Both economics and medicine research are dominated by statistical tools. Averages, correlations, regressions, and confidence intervals shape research, policy, and professional prestige. These tools are mathematically valid, but they describe only the center of a population dataset. They systematically ignore extremes, where failures occur and damage accumulates. My mentor, Professor Norman Jones, devoted his career to studying structural failure, fatigue, and collapse. My own medical research focuses on mortality, diseases driven by irreversible metabolic damage. Structural failure and human death do not occur at the mean. They occur at the extremes or outliers. Statistics is a supporting tool, not a substitute for failure analysis. Economic collapses, financial crises, bank failures, housing crashes, and national defaults do not happen under average conditions. They happen when thresholds are crossed. The same is true for organ failure and death. Statistical averaging suppresses these signals or treats them as noise. When collapse finally occurs, it is labeled unexpected, even though warning signs were present for years. Medicine suffers from the same flaw. Clinical guidelines are built on average patients. The sickest patients are often excluded or diluted by large sample sizes. When harm occurs, explanations come after the fact. This is not a failure of doctors. It is a failure of the system that trained them to obey rules instead of trusting scientific judgment near the edge. I am not attacking statistics. I am saying statistics was meant to assist science, not replace it. Real systems are nonlinear, asymmetric, and irreversible. Stress accumulates quietly. Then failure arrives suddenly. Averages cannot capture this behavior. Why physics and engineering feel different? Physics is anchored in conservation laws, boundary conditions, and falsifiability. When a model fails, it is discarded. Engineering measures success by what does not collapse: bridges that stand, airplanes that fly, and systems that avoid loss under stress. The most important work is often invisible because disasters were prevented. By contrast, medicine and economics often reward internal consistency and publication volume, even when real-world outcomes repeatedly fail. There is little formal recognition for system integration, failure analysis, or damage prevention. This is why my work does not fit neatly into existing medical research systems. I am not trying to produce elegant averages. I am trying to understand where systems break. Numbers summarize what already happened. They do not explain why a system is approaching failure. The Viscoplastopology VPT model does not replace statistics. It puts statistics back into a supporting role. In my VMT software, averages and correlations are still shown. But my focus remains on viscoplastic energy distribution, damage progression, and irreversible change. A note on AI and pattern recognition: in my mid-30s, around 1983, I explored language-based AI, similar to today's chat, with a linguistics professor at Stanford University. After 6 months, I concluded that hardware and computing speed were insufficient. I abandoned the idea and moved on to AI for mechanical design. 4 decades later, similar ideas appeared in commercial products. That was not failure. It was correct timing judgment. Working with modern AI tools today, I can still see some of their algorithm design flaws: optimization for fluency, safety constraints, and surface polish often come at the cost of preserving original meaning and structure. I often notice when meaning is lost even though language looks refined. That ability comes from pattern recognition built through decades of learning and designing real AI systems. Conclusion: I am not asking for revenge. I am asking for accountability. Systems that hide failure behind averages make harm invisible. Death becomes a data point. Responsibility dissolves into methodology. Comfort replaces curiosity. My goal is simple. If fear and pain from my lived illness and self-studied and medical research results can help even one person avoid catastrophic disease or death, then this work is worthwhile. I am 79 years old. I began serious medical research at age 63. Even after a near-fatal stroke on June 21, 2025, I still produced more than 200 stroke-related papers in 7 months. I will continue until I can no longer physically do so. This is not politics. It is science. Disclaimer: I write this paper not for fame, but to share what I have learned so others can understand their health, prevent disease progression, and live longer, healthier lives. This content is provided for educational reference only and does not constitute medical advice. No doctor-patient relationship is created. You may share this summary freely, but it must not be altered, edited, or republished as your own. All intellectual property rights belong to the author, Gerald C. This content is provided for educational reference only and does not constitute medical advice. No doctor-patient relationship is created. You may share this summary freely, but it must not be altered, edited, or republished as your own. All intellectual property rights and copyrights for this article and its related materials belong to the author, Gerald C.